for joining us with You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Scarborough, and I have as my guest today Sherry Brown. And Sherry is the director for Circles of Troup County, better known in Troup County as Move the Mountain right now. And we're going to transfer and have that become Circles of Troup County. And I wanted to just open the program up by reading something that I recently read in a book called Transformation. It's by Ed Savoso. And he made the statement that nation transformation must be tangible, and the premier social indicator is the elimination of systemic poverty. Now that's exciting to me, that the way that you determine transformation, or one of the ways that you see transformation has taken place in a nation, is that systemic poverty is dealt with, and that's what we're about to do in Troup County, isn't it?
It is.
It is. And so congratulations on being named the director. And I'd like to just start by asking, how did Troup County begin in this endeavor?
Okay. Several years ago, the county contracted with Georgia Tech to come into town and do a study of the county and look at the issues and the needs and give us a strategic plan. At the end of that study, they formed the Troup County Center for Strategic Planning, and that was to make sure that we carried out the goals and ideals that they had set out for us. The first thing that they attempted to work on was unemployment. We had a large unemployment rate. They've started Troop Trained and some other programs to get that going, and then last year, they looked at poverty. And the reason poverty came next online is because we have 21% poverty rate in Troup County, which means 2 out of 10 families in Troup County live at a wage of about $23,500 a year for a family of 4. Now, that's 21%. Above that are many more who live below the living wage.
Yes.
And so it's a huge problem, and it affects every aspect. It affects employment, it affects our government, it affects our schools, our jobs, everything. And so helping people come out of poverty is going to help us all.
Yes, and you know, when you think about somebody living on a wage that small, I don't know how they do it.
Well, they don't.
They don't. Yes, and so they're suffering. And you know, we talked about that there are many resources in Troup County, and so this program will help them discover those resources and connect them with a new way of thinking. Isn't that right?
Yes, we do. This community has an incredibly large amount of crisis resources, which is what I call them, church ministries, social agencies. If you're homeless, there's a place that can put you up. If you're in a domestic violence situation, we have those issues. If you need food, we have many, many places. If you need housing, we have DASH. I mean, there's so many places that can help you in certain areas. This is the first all-encompassing initiative that we are trying to take to utilize some of those resources, because most of those are geared towards crises, and they're meant to get you through a crisis.
Yes.
The problem is, for many people, it's just become, you know, a way of life, that getting a food box every third Wednesday from a certain church is how they feed their family. And we want to help them move to a different place and to learn to be self-sufficient. And that takes a lot, because, as you've already mentioned, poverty is systemic, and there's not one reason. If it was just education, we could fix that really easily. But there's systems in place, there's mindsets in place, there's all sorts of issues that go to the complex view of poverty.
Yes, and we started out by looking at Move the Mountain.
Yes.
And Move the Mountain was in Albany.
Yes.
And it's in other places too, in other states,
Move
right?
the Mountain is a nonprofit organization out of New Mexico. And they began, I believe, about 8 to 10 years ago, and they wanted to eradicate poverty. That was their goal, little goal.
Yes.
But they did that by bringing to the table not only middle-class people who had a passion for helping people who were having a hard time, but also people who had come out of poverty. And they looked at them and they said, what was it that made the difference? How did you get out and others didn't? And they began to design a process to help other people do what had already been successful. So they didn't reinvent the wheel, and they had some people who understood it who developed this. And they've pulled together many resources, and I know in our community we talk about Move the Mountain, we talk about Bridges Out of Poverty.
Yes.
And now we're talking about Circles of Troup County, and that's a little confusing. Move the Mountain is the overall umbrella organization that started this. Bridges Out of Poverty is an education piece that we use to educate many of our volunteers about the mindset of poverty and the mindset of the middle class. Circles of Troup County is the actual process. The Circles process is the 2-year process that we will use to help families, and that's why we're called Circles of Troup County.
Okay, and so before they really get into the circles, people who are wanting to get out of poverty, they'll get some training?
Yes. The process works like this. In the next month, I'm going to be doing a lot of recruiting for families. We are looking for, and you don't have to have an income exactly under $23,500 a year, or there's not, we're looking for the mindset. We're looking for that person who says, I can never get ahead. I'm so frustrated. I try, and I just feels like I'm hitting a wall, and I'm so tired of it, but I don't know what to do.
Yes.
And they're ready to make a change. They're determined to make something happen, but they just need a little bit of help along the way. And those are the families that we'll be looking for. You must apply to be considered. You must have an interview, and you'll be accepted. And we're looking, normally we start off with about 10 families, but we're going to raise the bar and try and shoot it for 20 families. A lot of that will depend on how many volunteers I have stepping up to the plate to walk through this journey. But during September, we will recruit those families. In October sometime, we will begin our first class. It's about a 12-week class. Each week, we come together, we will have a free meal for everyone, and then we'll have free childcare. And let me be clear, when I say childcare, this is not just watching them play. We will actually have tutors, and we will have to help the kids, the school-age kids, with their homework. And then we will also have a curriculum for 0 through high school. And we're really excited about that, but we will actually be teaching them some things along the way that their parents may be learning, and things that will help them get ready for school if they're younger, and that sort of thing. So we're working on that. So once a week we will come together, and we'll have a meal, and then we'll have a 1-hour program. And this first group will be a class. And I will be teaching that first class, but we will be hiring a part-time coach to help with that. And it is money management, because people in poverty don't really know how to manage money. It will be goal setting, because we find that the mindset of poverty is right now, because they live from day to day. They're so concerned with, how am I going to eat today, that they don't really have the energy to think about how I'm going to eat next month. So it's a day-to-day process, and we kind of give them a broader view and talk about why you should set goals, how you should set goals, how to set reasonable, evaluative goals, and we'll do a self-assessment. We'll have them take a really hard look at themselves. What's my job? Do I have a job? What's my education? Is it satisfying to me? Is it going to get me where I want to go? They'll go right down to, how do I look? How are my teeth?
Yes.
If I have a mental illness, am I taking care of myself? If I'm seriously overweight, is that hindering me from doing a job that I can do well? And they have to assess themselves. No one's going to give them a list.
Yes.
They have to look at themselves. It's a lot of hard work. At the end of that 12 weeks, they're graduates. And that's when we bring in our volunteers from the community. And we ask for an 18-month commitment after that 12-week class is over. That they'll come every week. They will participate in a cycle of 4-week sessions. The first week is an education night. We call it community night. And when they graduate, they become circle leaders.
Yes.
And the circle leaders will come together and pick out a list. They'll make their own list of things they want to know about. And I have a guiding coalition as my steering committee, and some of the members of that team will go find people who know how to do what they want to learn.
Yes.
It can be, how do I get a GED? It might be, how do I get a checking account at a bank? It could be, how can I be a better parent? It might be, how can I plant tomatoes on my porch? Whatever they want to know, we will connect them with people who can teach that. So the first week of every month will be education night. The second week of every month is the guiding coalition night, and that again is my steering committee. There's 5 teams, and we ask our circle leaders to find a team they want to serve on, because we want them to take ownership of what we're doing. but we also want their voice.
Yes.
Because a bunch of middle-class people trying to figure out how to recruit people in poverty are not going to be near as successful as people who are in poverty or have recently been in poverty, because they understand the mindset. So we want their voice. It's very important. That's the second week. The third week is what we call Match Circle Night. And that's where my allies come in. We will be recruiting in October, November, allies. I need about, with 20 people, I need a minimum of 40 allies, preferably about 60 to 80, because every circle leader will get 2 to 4 allies assigned to them, and we will match them according to their interest, and we'll watch and see how they connect, and because our goal is that they become friends with their allies. A lot of people say, I want to be a mentor. And I'm a mentor with a college group right now. My husband and I are. And we're very much the old people who have the answers and supposedly the wisdom. And we can show you the way up and we can guide you. And that's our job with this group. But that's not what this is. We're not there to show them the way or to guide them. We're there to help them reach their goals that they have set for themselves.
Yes.
We're there to be their friend. It's not this relationship, it's this relationship. And one way we do that, when my circle leaders graduate from their class, they will have a list of goals that they have set for themselves. When my allies finish their training, and they do have some significant training, they will also have a list of goals for themselves. Might be, I want to start going to the gym. It might be, I want to spend more time with my kids. Whatever.
Yes.
And when they come together on that match circle night, we'll have our meal, we'll have a little 5-minute get together, and then everybody separates into individual rooms with their match circle group, and they'll all talk about their goals and how they're doing, because it's reciprocal. It's not this, it's this. You're friends. And we're there to help them reach their goals. If they're struggling, we hopefully will have the relationships and the knowledge of the resources in the community. If this is a bad month for you and we need to find you help with your electric bill, we don't have any money. No one will be giving money.
Yes.
But we can say, have you tried this church, or have you gone to LaGrange Personal Aid, or let's figure out a way that we can pay this bill. And then let's talk about maybe how we don't get into this next month or the next month.
Yeah.
And so we just are friends.
Yes, and I think that is really comforting to me. Like, if I go in somewhere to be a mentor and I'm supposed to be able to have all the answers, then that's a little scary for me. But I can be somebody's friend. Mm-hmm. And that reminds me of some of the things that we talked about in the training or in the initial meetings that we had, was that there are mindsets. And there's a mindset for poverty.
Yes.
And that mindset is what people in poverty use to solve their problems every day. And they're resourceful people, very resourceful people, because they have a lot of problems that they have to solve during the day. But in that mindset, they solve problems differently than somebody who has the middle class mindset. And the people in the middle class solve it differently than the people who are wealthy. And so simply by having friends that are not in the poverty level, then you begin to see another way of thinking and another way of solving problems, and that helps you. And that makes me think about when we went to school. With every grade that we had, we learned some new skills, and we started applying those new skills. And so we're all in that process of lifelong learning, learning new things, and, oh gosh, I didn't know that. Well, or you hear a friend invest in something, so, it's successful for them, so maybe you'll invest in that. But that will be a lot easier, just to be a friend and come alongside and really help each other meet some goals.
Yes. I know one of the things, my oldest daughter just graduated from college and she's looking for a job, and one of the ways that Circles, the national campaign, defines poverty is a lack of resources, a lack of relationships, and a lack of reason. They don't have the resources, they don't have the reliable transportation, or maybe they don't have the education, they don't have the resources to further themselves, they don't have the relationships, and I think that's key. My daughter's looking for a job right now, and she can throw up on Facebook, I need a job, and 6 people will say, oh, try this, I know about this, and I
Yes.
know about that, I can recommend you for this. And people in poverty don't have, they might have good relationships, but they don't have those kinds of relationships and those networks.
Yes.
And you have 2 or 3 people who are your allies, and you say, I need a job, this is what I'm looking for, and more than likely those 2 to 3 people will know of at least 1 or 2 options in town right away, and because that's the way the middle class works. And you're talking about the way the mindset of poverty,
Yes.
and I know, and I know we're all kind of judgmental. We might think we're not, but we all can be. And I know I got caught on this one. I was in Publix one day, and a woman was paying with her EBT card, or food stamp card, and she was texting on her iPhone. I didn't have an iPhone. And I was standing there going, oh, I'm glad you can afford an iPhone, thinking to myself with your food stamps. And then I had someone really kind of take me down a few notches, because I didn't really say that out loud. You know, you kind of think it, but you feel kind of judgmental. But I mentioned it to someone, and she said, let me ask you a question. She said, how many computers do you have at your house? We have 3 people at my house at the time. We had 3 computers.
Yes.
She said, do you have internet access? Well, yeah, we have Wi-Fi. Do you have, how many phone numbers you got? We got 3 people, we got 4 phone numbers. Okay. And she said, how many emails you got? I said, oh, I don't even know. And she said, you have internet access at work that you can use if you need to? Yep, you know, and I had it all. And she said, all right, let me tell you this. I did not know this till recently. You apply for your food stamps now online.
Yes.
And almost every job that's available must be applied for online at some point.
Right.
And you must have an email address, and you must have a phone number. And she said, now, let me ask you this. If you need internet access, you need a phone number, and you need an email address, what's the cheapest way to get that? And I said, a phone? And she said, and what would your advice be to someone who needed all of that?
Get a
Go
phone?
get a phone? And so it really, you know, sometimes I think we just have to shift our thinking so that we understand, you know, it's easy. I can't afford an iPhone because I'm paying for 3 Macs at home and Wi-Fi and this and that. So no, I've chosen not to have that phone. But you know, if I only had one, that would be what I would have.
And you know, an interesting thing about that is they gave us one of those tests where you evaluate whether you're in poverty, whether you're in middle class, whether you're in wealth, and some of those questions, you know, you answer with a poverty mindset, some with a middle class. You know, you can be between those classes as far as you're thinking, right? And one of the things that I want you to talk about is the volunteers that you need to recruit and what they will be doing.
Oh, I have lots of places for everybody. Of course, we have our guiding coalition, and right now we're meeting weekly to figure out what kind of applicant we're looking for. Tomorrow we're meeting about recruiting and how we're going to recruit families in poverty. We're talking about childcare. We're talking about food. I've got to recruit. I'm looking for 4 churches that are willing to give me 1 meal a month for 1 year. That's 12 meals in a year, because we have to have someone to buy the food, prepare the food, serve the food, and clean up the food every week. That's a huge job. Now, money-wise, we're eligible for the food bank, and it delivers to LaGrange, and we'll have training for that. So you can feed 100 people for $25 out of the food bank. And so, you know, we are looking at that. We're also looking, I will say this about the food issue, we are looking at modeling healthy eating behaviors as well. So we're not going to be serving the Cokes and the sugary desserts. We're looking for lean meats and vegetables.
Very good.
So we're excited about that.
Was that you?
That was me.
Yeah, you're a healthy eater.
Yeah, but you know, beyond that, we're looking at healthy behaviors. All, you know, how to handle your money healthy, and our health. We're in a crisis with our health, and people in poverty. You know, I look at those food boxes sometimes, and I think, you know, if I ate macaroni and cheese and canned vegetables and canned soups and canned meats with sodium, I mean, it's filling, it's cheap, but it's not good for you.
Right.
So we've got to start trying to model that as well. But that's what I'm looking for. Those 4 churches very much would like that. I'm looking for people who have a heart for children. Again, we're not just going to make sure kids don't kill each other on the playground for an hour. We really want to make this significant time for the children. I'm really excited. 4 of the students from the Servant Scholar Program at LaGrange College have chosen circles as their project for this year. So they're going to be, some of them, I'm not sure, all of them may be working with the kids, some of them may be doing something a little differently, but they're going to be doing a tutoring program because they'll be here during the school year working with the school-age children. I need more people for that as well. But, you know, developing, college students have such an influence over young children, and so they'll be working on helping them with their homework, but also going so far as to call their teachers and say, you know, do I need to help them with reading or math or what area? So they'll be developing that program. We're also using the Success by Six Born to Learn program for 0 to 5-year-olds, and the Boys and Girls Club curriculum. I think we're going to be using that for the 6-year-olds and up, which very much is tailored towards kids that we're working with, you know, making good, responsible decisions, making, you know, money decisions, and how to be a great person, basically. And so that'll be, I need volunteers in that area. But well, I don't know, I think they're all important. I don't know that anything's more important, but I do need the most people as allies. I need a minimum of 2 allies per circle leader. And so that will be a minimum of 40 people. And what we're asking them to do, it's about 12 hours of training that will start in November and December and maybe January. We'll probably kick it off in January. And the requirement is the 3rd Thursday of every month, that meeting, for that match circle meeting, that we ask them to be there consistently that week. And then we ask them to pick one other Thursday night. They can come every Thursday, and that would be ideal, but I understand that, you know, people have other things they have to do. So we ask them to come to 2 meetings a month. One on the 3rd and then one any other Thursday night. And then they'll also, as they build a relationship with their circle leader, they'll, you know, meet them for coffee. They may have them over for dinner, or they may go over to their circle leader's house for dinner. And they'll be, but that's, you know, that's outside according to their time frame. So that's what we're asking from the allies. And I think, you know, while we're looking at educating the families in poverty, we're also looking at educating the middle class.
That's great.
Just like I was educated about iPhones, and I had someone who's very passionate about this and wants to be very involved, and he's got a great heart. And I mentioned something about the food bank, and he had no idea what I was talking about. So I got to explain to him how food banks work. And he just never heard of that. And so I think there's an education component on both sides about how the world works.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know that y'all are going to work on, or we're going to work on, eliminating obstacles that hold people in poverty.
That's our 4th week. We got sidetracked, but that's our 4th Thursday of every month is called the Big View meeting.
Yes.
And one of my teams on the Guiding Coalition is the Big View team. And this really, I mean, the whole thing is kind of set apart from a lot of things, but this really sets it at a different level. We will sit at the table, the middle class and the families in poverty, and we will discuss what are the systemic issues in Troup County that keep people in poverty.
Yes.
And I'm very excited about that. The first thing that comes, this is in 62 cities nationwide. This isn't, we're not inventing this. And one of the things that comes up everywhere is transportation. And I know realistically we're not going to get a mass transit system in Troup County, but there are a lot of very creative ways to address the issue of transportation.
Yes.
Reliable transportation is one of the things that can just, I mean, you can lose your job, you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose your house, you lose your kids. I mean, you know, it is just an amazing slide into a mess when you don't have a car or a vehicle or a way to get to work on time every day. And there are programs that have been set up where you can donate a car. I've talked to someone, I was trained in Kansas, went to 2 groups. One group had just started this program, they took donated cars, and then circle leaders applied for them. And if they received a car, they paid for it through 50 hours of community service. And it was kind of neat that it was a win-win for everybody. And I talked to a woman who was a single mom with 3 children, and she was going to nursing school, and her car was about to go under, and she just didn't have the resources for it. And this was going to keep her on the road to keep her job and to keep her going to school. And to better her life, and it was really exciting.
Yes.
So transportation, I'm sure, will be an issue. Already been talking to some people about, and again, none of this stuff, you know, we haven't started this yet, but about food deserts, and we do have some food deserts in Troup County, meaning that we have places that there's not easy access to fresh, healthy foods. And there's some programs, I just found out about one someone told me about last week, where It's a national nonprofit that can get you set up to where local farmers can accept food stamp cards. And for every food stamp dollar, the farmer receives $2.
Yes.
So it benefits our local growers,
Yes.
and it benefits our local families in poverty on food stamps because they get the best kind of food.
Yes.
And so I don't know if that'll be one we'll pick up, but that's a possibility. There's many things that we can address.
And this is going to help our whole community.
Absolutely.
It's not just going to help the people in poverty. It's going to help. It's going to help everybody, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember at one of the meetings that I went to, I think they said, I'm not sure about this statistic, but like when we begin to affect at least 10% of the people in poverty, that has a ripple effect, and it will branch out and begin to change communities.
Yes.
You know, because people will see how this family came out of poverty and the new things they're doing, and actually they will be allies in their community to their community, won't they?
And in some of the groups, when I was at my training, I got to go to 2 different groups and talk to a lot of people. And one thing that was really interesting, once you get rolling, I mean, right now we're starting from scratch and people don't really know what we're doing, and we're really having to do some serious recruiting. But as time goes on, the families that go through this and are successful, they're your best recruitment.
Yes.
Because they know other families in poverty. And even if they don't recruit other families, they're going to be spreading the word. And they're going to be, as they change the way they think about certain things, they're going to be talking about that and helping others see that as well.
When the generations come together, that's powerful, isn't it?
It is.
Because the younger generation needs the wisdom in the older generation, and the older generation needs their zeal and vitality
And energy and
and help with the internet and with Facebook and those kinds of things. So it really works out. It works out great. Sherry, I just want to thank you for coming on. I think we could sit here and talk about Circles of Troup County.
Yes.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yes.
And I hope that you out there have caught the excitement of this movement that's happening in Troup County, and that you will call Sherry. She's at the Troup County Park and Recreation. That's where her office is.
We're on Facebook.
You're on Facebook, and so get out there and volunteer, and let's work on this systemic poverty and see transformation come to Troup County. And thank you for watching You Make the Difference, because you truly do.